I've always loved this quotation from Ezra Pound from the Peas and Cantos, which he says, "What thou lovest well remains, the rest is dross. What thou lovest well will not be reft from thee. What thou lovest well is thy true heritage." So when I'm thinking about legacy here and heritage, I have to think about those things that I love most, what I love the best. And there are a lot of things. I am a lover of life. I love life, and I love the people in my life, and I love so many things about it. So it's hard for me to kind of narrow down a very specific legacy. But nonetheless, when Kira asked me what would I like to have on my tombstone, I said he was a generous man and he loved children. It seemed to me that those two things are an important part of my legacy in the sense that generosity to me means sharing the things that you have in the world with those that you love and those people in your life. And there's nothing I love more than to, for example, cook dinner for friends and have them over the house and do things with my friends, go places with them. And as far as children go, of course, I feel deeply gifted to have two beautiful grandchildren who I just saw. We just came back from Spain, saw them. But children generally, children to me represent the future. They're the future of life. So if you don't love children, you're an optimist if you love children, because that means you believe in the future. And I feel like I do have that. That quotation to me covers a lot of ground. As I said, generosity involves cooking to me, because I love to cook dinner for a lot of people. In fact, part of my legacy is my little cookbook, Deliciously Italian, that I had the good fortune of doing with my son Stephen. You know, one of the ideas of this book was to pass on something that I knew about cooking and about Italian food to my son, because he really was not much of a cook, but he'll admit that. But he really got into doing this book with me, and we collected a lot of recipes, and I taught him a lot about Italian food and about my Italian heritage. In fact, we did another book called Italian Pride, 101 Reasons to be Proud You're Italian. This book is still in print and is still selling, and we're very, I really feel lucky to have done this with him, because talking about passing on heritage, this is not only my cooking heritage, but my whole cultural heritage. I had the good fortune of traveling to Italy with Stephen. We traveled through Apulia, which is the land where my parents grew up, and we visited restaurants and we ate lots of food and really had a good time there. And so these two little books really encapsulate some of my heritage and my legacy, the thing that I'd like to leave. So, you know, when it really comes down to legacy, I guess your children really are your most important legacy in a lot of ways. And I've told you what I've done with my son Steve. You know, we did those two books and we've done some plays together, and I'm really connected to him in that way. My other son Nicholas lives in Spain, and unfortunately he's far away. I don't see him as often as I'd like to, and I certainly don't see his two little children, my grandchildren, Lucia and Samuel, as much as I'd like to, although fortunately did see them just recently just before making this. And my sweet daughter-in-law Esther, the Spanish La Familia Español, I call them, or La Familia in España. Anyway, Nicholas has had a real affinity for Spain for a great many years. He went there when he was in his junior year in college for the first time. He went to Granada, and I visited him there in Granada. And I wrote this poem for him when I was there, which I'd like to leave because it is for him. It's just called For Nicholas. In the walking light of Andalusia, where the water weeps through the night, I climb the cobbled steps of the Albaicin with my son. His eyes burn with poems. The earth pulls at our blood. We find a Moroccan tea house, sit in a corner and sip Pakistani tea from tall, slim, silver latticed glasses. We talk of the strange turns of life that have brought us to this place in the shadow of the Alhambra, where cats roamed the fabled stones. Here in Lorca's town, he is finding his life. Our eyes meet in a glistening gleam. I have always been here with him, in Andalusia, where the light walks, the water weeps, and my son's eyes burn with poems. Well, one of the things that I always like to do is when I make a meal for friends is to make up a menu, and I've kept almost all these menus since at least 10 or 12 years, even more actually, going probably back to the 80s. In fact, I have some handwritten menus, but I put the ones I've made with my wife Clarissa, who is also part of my legacy, and they're all in this book. And what I like about keeping menus is you can go back and look at a menu and find here's a dinner with Francine at Federico and Clarissa's place. So, and I remember a time we had with a dear friend of ours, or a menu for a beautiful night with Clarissa, just Clarissa alone at Federico's place. And here's one with our friend Elizabeth. A dinner for three, a comforting dinner for three of the loveliest women I know, Clarissa, Melanie, and Elizabeth. 3 women. See, one of the things I also love is women. And I guess that's really a part of my legacy as well. And I love nothing better than to cook dinner for women, because women are usually so very appreciative of it. A lot of women have, never had the luxury of having dinner cooked for them. Usually they're in charge of that. And so it's always been a thrill to me. I love cooking dinner. So what better thing to give a woman than something that I've cooked. So this little book is it's a lot of memories, and every time I look through it, I remember those particular times, and it's a nice thing for me to keep. Government is a terrible thing and needs to be avoided at all costs. Well, I don't believe that, and I've always tried to work toward making a government, or creating a government that is active and that tries to balance the inequities in this world, because there's so many people that have just aren't able to appreciate life because of one thing or another. And I think it's up to government to try to make that better. So, although I've never run for office, or I have worked in some political campaigns, but I've written a lot of sort of op-ed pieces and statements of my belief that government needs to. I'm a lifelong Democrat, and although I'm very disappointed, of course, with the Democratic Party, and It seems to me such a shame. Here we are, we have a Democratic president and a democratically controlled Congress, both houses, and they pass these watered down bills that really are nothing like what is really needed. So the work has yet to be done in that area. And so, you know, although I believe in an active and a government, and I believe in taking political action, I also believe that we live in a very diverse world and a diverse society, and there are a lot of people that are not going to agree with what you have to say. And another one of my favorite quotations is from Walt Whitman, in which he writes in the Song of Myself, "Do I contradict myself? Very well then, I contradict myself. I am large. I contain multitudes." In fact, one of my books about American poetry, I called it Containing Multitudes, because American poetry does contain a lot of diverse voices. And I think that we need to be able to sort of understand that the way we see the world is not the only way of seeing it. It's very difficult to do sometimes, especially when you think people are doing things that are immoral or wrong. But I wrote this poem, which is one of my favorites of what I've written. I think of it as my sort of signature poem. It's called 180 Degrees. And I'd like to read it here. Have you ever considered the possibility that everything that you believe is wrong? Not merely off a bit, but totally wrong, nothing like things as they really are. If you've done this, you know how durably fragile those phantoms we hold in our heads are, those wisps of thought that people die and kill for, betray lovers for, give up lifelong friendships for. If you've not done this, you don't understand this poem, or think it's not even a poem, but a bit of opaque nonsense occupying too much of your day's time, so you probably should stop reading it here, now. But if you've arrived at this line, maybe, just maybe, you're open to the possibility of being absolutely, completely wrong about everything that matters.